Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the Crypto Mining Morning Show. I hope everybody's having a good Friday morning. We have lots of news to catch up on. I was pretty much out of pocket from Wednesday through yesterday evening, trying to pick up the RTX 3050. We actually have it back here. We have a gigabyte model. I have yet to even unbox it because essentially I'll need to take the camera down and go get all the B-roll so we can have that sweet intro, and then we will get to testing it. And then I'm hoping to have that out this evening. More than likely it'll be late this evening because obviously I have not even started the work. If you guys aren't aware, these videos take quite some time. I'm going to aim for this evening. Tomorrow I have a jiu-jitsu tournament, so I will not be working on videos necessarily. We'll have some clips and some other videos prepared for Sunday. Hopefully we'll be good to go. So there's that. All right. So today we're going to be talking about Joe Biden's executive order actions potentially on regulation of cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, I believe. Then we have, of course, Texas governors basically coming out and saying, I'll support Bitcoin. And then the other governors like, I'll support Bitcoin. And then this is part of the political race going on in Texas right now for governor. It's kind of funny because either way we go, I think it looks pretty good for Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin miners in the state of Texas. It'll be interesting what the difference is, or if there is a clash between states and, of course, the federal government. And we'll get into that, of course, today. We're also going to be talking about Trezor adopting basically Swiss travel regulation. And this is going to be important because, well, I think it's time to probably ditch the Trezors, unfortunately. We're also going to talk about the crypto mining market and where we're at there. But before we get into it, let's go ahead and run the ad today. Today's sponsor is BT Miners. Purchasing mining equipment online can be dangerous. With all of the fake storefronts and scams, it can be hard to find a reliable source. That's why when BT Miners reached out for a channel sponsorship, I started by verifying that ordering and delivery went smoothly with a purchase of my own. If you are looking to purchase ASICs hardware from Bitcoin to Dogecoin miners, they are available for purchase on bt-miners.com. BT Miners is a trusted source by both ASICMinerValue.com and CryptoMiner.com. Follow the affiliate link in the description and use promo code FREESHIPPING2021 for free shipping on your order. We'll review some of the ASIC options at the end of the video, but definitely use my affiliate link if you're going to purchase through BT Miners. First things up is I always go ahead and pull the internet and go ahead and search it all out to make sure there's no new miner updates. We do have one today. It's coming from Team Black Miner. Now, I will say a caveat to this one's actually a little interesting. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is Team Black Miner version 1.46. And really the number one change here is what is interesting. And it's this. If the DAG verification fails, a copy of a verified DAG from another GPU, it'll copy it over. Now, I haven't seen this in any other miners and maybe I've missed it, but this is kind of cool. I don't know how well it will work. It does say change to RTX 3070 and 3060 Ti stable on plus 300 megahertz memory overclock when the DAG is created on another GPU. And that's just in general kind of fascinating because I don't know if this works for light hash rate GPUs, but if you guys have been running light hash rate GPUs, usually the number one thing that ends up being a problem is overclocked GPUs, specifically light hash rate versions, do seem to fail DAG verification. And typically when it does that, you need to turn the memory overclock off, or it'll just keep resetting and basically the amount of light hash rate unlock applied to that particular GPU is reduced. And whether that be, you know, from 70 75% to 74% to whatever, right? So the ability for the miner itself to go ahead and take off a verified DAG from one GPU and put it onto one without having to build the DAG specifically on the GPU may, in theory, allow you to get better overclocks, at least on light hash rate GPUs. And I think that's what they're also stating here with this number 2 one, where you see the RTX 3070 and this 3060 Ti stable with a higher memory overclock when the DAG is moved over. So this is something that, like, I think is probably warrants some testing for sure. And I'm definitely going to try to get in on testing it out and seeing how this functions. Now, a requirement of this, of course, is going to essentially be that at least one of your GPUs is stable enough to go ahead and build the DAG for all the rest of them. And it's going to be, it appears that it doesn't, I guess, actually, let me clarify this. I'm not sure if it has to be the exact same GPU. It doesn't appear that that's the case, at least at this time. So I wanted to bring this one up. Like I said, it's Team Black Miner just does a lot of releases, and we cover them every single time. However, some of them are pretty lackluster, boring, mild changes, and the miner itself has, you know, historically not been the best. It's not my go-to for anything by any means, but this is an interesting kind of idea on how to handle DAG generation on overclocked GPUs, and I think it warrants definitely some coverage. This one was definitely cooler, way more neat than what they've released in the past. Let's go ahead and get into the big topic today. I believe it was yesterday. I was reading about it, hearing about it, trying to catch up. I have the latest article from Forbes covering it. So it's written by Jack Kelly over at Forbes. And the title is President Joe Biden is going after Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and NFTs. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Keep the chat clean so, you know, we can basically talk about this and not have to worry about, I don't know, getting kicked off or anything like that. All right. So President Joe Biden is planning an executive action for federal agencies to regulate cryptocurrencies, digital assets, and Bitcoin, as he contends this is a matter of national security. It's always going to be this. It's the argument is always, you know, we really care about you. It's for your own good. It's security. It's your safety. These are always the arguments used to basically take away the rights of an individual, at least historically, every time I've seen it. Granted, I don't know everything. I haven't been around for more than like 35 years at this point, but it seems to be a trend, okay? He's striking at a time when the crypto sector, along with the stock market, is going through a tumultuous time, losing large amounts of value as the Federal Reserve said it will start raising interest rates to cool down inflation. His sights aren't only on Bitcoin. Regulators will look into stablecoins and NFTs. The Biden administration will also coordinate efforts with regulators and global leaders. Regulatory agencies such as the Securities Exchange Commission, SEC, and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, International Revenue Service, and the Self-Regulation Financial Industry Regulatory Authority will likely coordinate their investigations. How many regulatory bodies do we really need in all this? Tons of it. It's insane how much money is dumped into these organizations. They also review whether or not tokens should be considered and registered as securities, which this one's going to be a big deal for sure. Usually, when there is concern over a sector in the financial industry, the regulatory bodies conduct extensive, invasive examinations and audits. They'll grill executives and key players of the platforms and brokerages that offer customers to buy, sell, and trade securities. Trading activities will be highly scrutinized to search for any patterns of potentially illegal or unethical behavior. once again, what do? You got to demonize the usage of it. We're looking at this, you know, because there might be some illegal activity in here. We need to see your encrypted emails because, you know, there might be some illegal activity in there. And that's kind of how this goes. It's just fully expected, to be honest. While Bitcoin and other coins aren't yet considered securities, the regulators will dig into finding out if there are instances of money laundering, pump and dump schemes, shady business practices, wash sales, and market manipulations. That's all being done. Of course, we're aware of these things that happen, these pump and dump schemes. We're aware that money laundering was a thing, I think to a lesser extent, as in the early days. I'm sure there's still some of that going on. My understanding is 60% of that is still done in fiat, but there you go, or over 60% last I checked. So, you know, maybe they need to get a regulatory, you know, organization to look into the fiat manipulations, but also the market manipulation stuff. That's big industry. We're aware that does appear to play a part, and even articles like this and actions by the federal government to perform or release, you know, information and scrutiny surrounding Bitcoin in and of itself could be considered market manipulation. So it looks like, yes, Biden, your cabinet, and everything else going on in the federal government is manipulating the market to a certain extent, even though that would probably be, you know, not considered. So this would be a complete game changer if Biden's administration goes full throttle on this matter. An underlying unspoken reason for seemingly sudden interest by Biden may be all the money that is sloshing around in the crypto space. Biden's multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure and other plans are creating a huge amount of debt for the country. The digital asset world is now too big to fail, but it's not too big to extract a lot of money from it. We need money to do all this stuff that we want to do, so we're going to go ahead and pull it from, you know, somewhere we consider that has a lot of money floating around in it. Cryptocurrency seems to be an untapped well of wealth, right? So if regulators find irregularities, substantial fines and tax levies may be extracted from everyone involved in the crypto ecosystem. Yay, can't wait. The United States Treasury Department is already looking into what entities will be considered a crypto broker under the infrastructure bill Congress passed last year, and the reporting of any capital gains or losses to the IRS. This is going to be fun. Gary Gensler, the new appointed chairman of the SEC, the premier regulator of financial services firms, and Wall Street, has previously voiced his concerns over digital assets. Gensler took office when Wall Street had gone wild. During the pandemic, young novice investors fell in love with meme stocks and aggressively traded on Robinhood. Cryptocurrencies became all the rage, and a number of digital asset exchanges and platforms emerged to service the overwhelming demand for buying, selling, and trading Bitcoin, Dogecoin, Ethereum, and other cryptocurrencies. Yeah, everybody else that's normal figured out the game you're playing and were given tools to go ahead and participate. That's what happened. It's like what they're mad about is the fact that everybody now can participate and they can't just keep it all to themselves. That's how I feel about it. There was a boom in underwriting IPOs and SPACs. Questions arose over Chinese stocks listed on U.S. exchanges and the practice of payment for order flow. Investors complained of activities that suspiciously looked like pump and dump schemes and attempts at market manipulation. Do we need to state this again? Because this is the problem that we have. The general public gets involved in something, and some people fail and some people are successful, and the people that fail basically want a refund. And they want some regulatory service to basically be their net to catch them. And that's not what happens if the movement is supposed to be for financial independence, because with great responsibility, like financial independence, comes, of course, comes great responsibility. There you go. We get it. You guys know where I'm going with that. Spider-Man, right? And like, to an extent, I understand the frustration. I definitely call out things that I consider or that look like Ponzi schemes or pump and dumps. We'll talk about them, but that's on my research. If I make the decision to invest in something that is not going to get me profit and it doesn't, and I lose money, then that responsibility should be on the individual, in my humble opinion. Now, I know some people will disagree. There could be maybe a case for theft or fraud. That would be something different. But if we're just talking about getting in on a pump and dump and you miss the sell mark, there you go. I don't know. I feel like that's on you. Gensler shared his concern with CNBC, stating about the regulatory agency, "We are short-staffed." He added, "It might sound odd to say that about an agency with 4,400 remarkable, dedicated staff working remotely during this challenging pandemic. But that's 4 to 5% less than we had just 5 years ago." We know why there's less. You see the timeline, 4 to 5 years. Why is there less? This isn't rocket science. The lack of staffing and proliferation of new types of firms and products shouldn't be too surprising to industry insiders. In the aftermath of the financial crisis, compliance and regulations were made a top priority. The carnage created during this period created the need for greater oversight of the securities markets, bankers, brokers, and traders. Regulators cracked down on money laundering, insider trading, Ponzi schemes, and other types of abusive and violative practices. The need for risk audit, legal, compliance, privacy, regulatory, and related professionals was insatiable. Compliance went from sleepy back office type of a job into one of the hottest and fastest growing professions on Wall Street. Things quickly changed when President Donald Trump took office. His administration made deregulation of the financial markets in corporate America a top priority. Trump contended that with fewer rules and regulations, remember what I said, it's quite obvious why they have 4 to 5% less 4 to 5 years ago or whatever. The animal spirits of companies will kick into gear. Companies unencumbered by onerous regulatory burdens would be set free to aggressively pursue bold business pursuits. Along with high taxes, regulations were viewed by Trump as an anathema to corporate growth and profits. He ordered that new rules will not be needed and existing ones should be scrutinized and thrown out, as he famously proclaimed, quote, "For every new rule, 2 must be revoked," end quote. Regulatory budgets were cut and regulatory personnel felt that they weren't appreciated for adequately supported. Many left to pursue other opportunities. Savvy Wall Street players noticed the shift in policy, and we've now seen the results. The SEC and other financial regulators, such as the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Commodity Futures Trading Commission, Federal Reserve Bank, and FINRA, F-I-N-R-A, a self-regulatory organization, are likely to request and receive funding from President Joe Biden's administration, especially as Senator Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders have been outspoken on their dislike and distrust of Wall Street. Yeah, but what you guys don't get is that there's a bunch of people in the public that have figured this out and been given tools to fight themselves. We have the tools. Okay? So now all you're really doing by putting all the regulations into place is just basically taking it back and putting all the control back into large companies and large corporations that can basically participate in something the rest of the public can't. And when you go ahead and put all these regulations into place, what you potentially do is the exact opposite of what you say you're trying to do. This is why it doesn't work. Like, so frustrating. It's reasonable to believe that there will be an aggressive hiring campaign at the SEC and other regulatory agencies. Strict examinations, audits, and reviews of the securities and cryptocurrency industry will occur to keep the banks and financial institutions safe and out of the crosshairs of the regulatory bodies. To keep the banks and the financial institutions safe and out of the crosshairs of regulatory bodies. There may be a substantial increase in hiring of compliance, risk, audit, legal, and regulatory professionals. You know why? Because they can afford that. You know who can't afford it? The people that are trying to actually get into the system and use it just like everybody else has been able to do for the longest time. But you know what we can't do? We can't hire entire teams of compliance, risk, audit, legal, and regulatory professionals. So the chips shift back. That's what happens. You have the opposite effect of what we want, and definitely the opposite effect of the messaging. The messaging just wants the public to be fearful and be like, okay, daddy government, protect me. And then they'll use that to basically strip away any possibility you had to participate in this economic system at that level. We'll have to see, you know, as we get more details. I don't know all the details yet. I haven't looked at it. We'll definitely be covering it on the channel. That's the brief top-down overview of it. So let's go ahead and talk about some weirdness that's definitely going on. This is what gets weird. And this has kind of been, all right. It's hard to like not get political. And I've said this because, and I'm not right or left, but I don't need to validate any of my political opinions with y'all. That's not it. I don't need to do that. You don't need to validate your opinions with me. Let's just basically understand, though, that what we have going on is political integration into cryptocurrency, so it's going to be discussed. One of the things that is very interesting, at least as the United States sits right now, is this kind of broken up opinions based on basically where you live within the United States. It varies wildly right now. And there's been a few states that are very combative towards the current administration. Whether you agree with the administration on one point of view or one of the states is almost irrelevant. What is irrelevant here, especially as it pertains to cryptocurrency, is that the states that are against kind of or going against the grain of what the federal government is doing are the states that are going to probably be better for you from a cryptocurrency regulation standpoint. Case in point would be something like Texas and Florida. And as we can see here, we have a governor race going on, brewing in Texas, and both of the current candidates for at least I believe it's the Republican Party, are essentially touting that they will make Texas a safe citadel for Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and get into it. This one's coming from Fudzilla, which is a fun domain name. And it says, Texas governor candidate Don Huffins, I think, said he is, quote, committed to making Texas the citadel for Bitcoin and has released a plan detailing the effort. Quote, as a leader in innovation, Texas needs to lead the nation in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency adoption, it reads. Quote, not only by acknowledging, supporting, and promoting the industry, but by also using our natural resources and the power of our state to legitimize Bitcoin as a store of value, medium of exchange, and unit of account. Huffin says the state must stop the federal government, case in point, from, quote, discriminating against Bitcoin holders, end quote, and, quote, trying to shut down or limit freedom-loving Texans, yeah, I did get my southern drawl there, investing in Bitcoin, end quote. Not only does the plan call for the declaration making Bitcoin a legal tender, but it calls for establishing the Bitcoin and Cryptocurrency Policy Commission, quote, which will be tasked with identifying the utility of currencies that can be recognized as accepted Texas currency. Now, if anybody is out there that is working on forming this Bitcoin Cryptocurrency and Policy Commission, I would be super interested in sitting in and kind of observing. Let me know, email me. I want to be in on figuring this out. I am in Texas. I will travel. We're good. All right. And then, so essentially, Dawn Huffins is running against Governor Abbott, if you guys aren't aware. And this is actually just posted yesterday. So essentially what happened here is that because it's a political race, what you have is like, essentially one side says something, the other side says another thing typically, right? But in this case, what you have is basically they're kind of all on the same page. They're just wanting to make sure they have the support of the Bitcoin holders, the Bitcoin miners. This is actually the smartest play you could make for running in Texas right now, because if you guys are not aware, some of the largest mining farms stateside or even just Western Hemisphere side are in Texas themselves. So you definitely, you have, you know, just a plethora of untapped resources, probably from donors, etc., just within the Bitcoin mining industry. So make sure you guys understand that this is, as being as politically driven, this is definitely financially driven decisions by these political candidates. Don't get it twisted, okay? This isn't necessarily for your freedom, blah, blah, blah. It sounds great on a campaign trail. That's why it's being said like that and presented like that. But you also need to take into account the financial incentives for these political candidates. And definitely don't vote just based on this. Make sure you go ahead and look at the rest of their remaining policy. Last fall, Texas Governor Greg Abbott gathered dozens of cryptocurrency deal makers in Austin, where they discussed an idea that on its face seemed almost upside down. Electricity-hungry Bitcoin miners could shore up the state's power grid, a top priority after a deep freeze last winter triggered blackouts that left hundreds dead. Yeah, I mean, sure. All right. I like how it has to be like hundreds dead. But yes, it did suck. It was terrible. Luckily, we were okay. We had a place to go. Well, we had gas, natural gas. The industry's advocates have been making that pitch to the governor for years. The idea is that the miners' computer arrays would demand so much electricity that someone would come along to build more power plants, something Texas badly needs. Not really what they, okay. I think, well, obviously we could get into that. It definitely needs a more robust power grid to a certain extent, but part of that also has to do specifically with, I think, regulation falling through, as far as I understood it, from the manner in which these structures were built, right? So, anyways, I think the power is there. I think actually, like, taking care of it, it's part of the problem. But if the grid starts to go wobbly, as it did when the winter storm Uri froze up power plants in February 2021, miners could quickly shut down to conserve energy for homes and businesses. That would be interesting. So how are you going to compensate? First of all, how are you going to force or regulate miners to shut down? And then how are you going to compensate them? That would probably be a big play here, right? You would... Because if you're going to shut them down, they're going to lose tons of money, especially at the level that these farms are running. So I don't know how you compensate that. But at last October's meeting at the governor's mansion, Abbott made it clear that he was going to count on the miners' assistance when the electricity grid faced colder months ahead. Help me get through the winter, the governor said, according to 4 people who attended the meeting. Getting through the winter may be key to Abbott's political fortunes as he stands for re-election. He faces 2 main opponents in a March 1st Republican primary and a tougher fight in November against Democrat Beto O'Rourke. I don't think that that's a very tough fight. I mean, it'll be like Austin voting for him and nobody else. I'm just saying, like, from somebody that talks to a lot of Texans, I don't think that's a huge fight. And that's nothing against Beto O'Rourke. I don't really actually follow him too much. I don't follow either of the governors enough, probably because unless it pertains to cryptocurrency, I'm not too politically driven, or unless it comes to other freedoms or whatever, right? But I don't know about that. But here, they have some stats. Maybe they'll re-educate me. The grid is one of the governor's fewer weak flanks. The most recent University of Texas, University of Texas is in Austin, but from October, and it's a university, showed that 60% of Texans disapprove of how state leaders have handled the reliability of the grid. And they're talking about specifically the reliability of the grid right after we had a huge winter storm that shut the system down. So kind of makes sense. Quote, I'm just saying this seems very like a very biased poll just from being a local in the area. Quote, there has to be a really thoughtful approach to bringing gigawatts worth of Bitcoin onto the system, end quote, said Doug Lewin, an energy consultant in Austin. He said regulators need to require miners to shut down during a crisis instead of making it voluntary. This is worrisome a little bit. It shouldn't affect small miners in Texas, really, but that's a little worrisome. Quote, we've got to make sure that if we're getting close to scarcity, people aren't mining Bitcoins anymore. Well, then you have to compensate them, bro. Abbott is embracing an industry that sees itself as a libertarian form. I've already called that out before yesterday on Twitter, of finance free from meddling by banks and governments. Yeah, he gets the idea. He gets the idea. And if y'all are just getting into cryptocurrency and you don't understand where it started with Bitcoin, and you don't understand the ties to libertarian ideals and freedom and moving away from banks and governments controlling your currency, then you need to go reread the white papers and you need to re-educate yourself. And then if you don't agree, sell all your crypto, unless you could buy something like Ethereum or XRP. Jokes aside, let's keep going. That support in Texas' cheap electricity and near zero regulation helped spur big companies like Riot Blockchain Incorporated, Singapore-based Gettr Group, and the UK's Ergo Blockchain PLC to build some of the world's largest Bitcoin miners in the state. Now, one thing that I do think that I don't agree with and I think we should get rid of is allowing Singapore-based companies to build mining farms stateside, because you're not only letting them benefit economically, but you're also allowing them to purchase, in theory, land and property. I don't know how I feel about that one, but I probably have a very biased opinion because I'm a miner in this state. In all, there are 7 big miners and more than 20 smaller ones in Texas, according to the lobbying group Texas Blockchain Council. Abbott and Republican lawmakers have taken some of the most aggressive steps in the U.S. to lure the industry. Last May, Texas became one of the few states to make it easier for businesses to hold crypto assets and use them as collateral for loans. Abbott also created the work group on blockchain matters, staffed by the industry experts and insiders. Hey, bro, can you allow us to use Binance US, please? Jeez, like one of the only states that doesn't, and you're like, come on in, everybody, but you can't use Binance. Come on. Let's get this going. Quote, he sees this huge opportunity, I believe, around the energy sector, end quote, said Christopher Calicott, a managing director at Austin venture capital firm Trammell Venture Partners, who's on Abbott's crypto task force. I don't like venture capitalists in crypto necessarily, but it is what it is. We already talked about that in my Flux interview. You can go rewatch that if you want. Texas is luring miners partially because other places don't want them. Governments from China to Kazakhstan to Iceland have outright banned or limited crypto mining because of their drain on electric grids. Lee Bratcher, president of the Texas Blockchain Council, finds opportunity in these bans. He's met with Abbott several times to promote Bitcoin's mining benefits to the power grid, including at the governor's mansion last fall. Quote, it's really hard, quote, it's really a healthy dynamic that brings tax revenue, brings job creation, and also is a grid strengthening mechanism, end quote, Bratcher said in an interview. Quote, Governor Abbott's been very supportive, end quote, and Abbott isn't alone. State leaders from Austin Mayor Steve Alder on the left to conservative Senator Ted Cruz are pushing Texas as a crypto paradise. A few days before the governor's crypto meeting in Austin, Cruz spoke for 38 minutes at a blockchain industry conference, keying in on the potential for Bitcoin mining to bolster the state's power system. Quote, in 5 years, I expect to see a dramatically different terrain with Bitcoin mining playing a significant role as strengthening and hardening the resiliency of the grid, end quote, he said. Depending on Bitcoin miners is risky because there's a chance that they won't shut down or will take too long to power off, said Ben Hertzschargl. Is that right? Global head of energy consultant Wood Mackenzie's Grid Edge unit, and I think that's a fair point. As crisis looms, miners could vie for power with families and businesses. Quote, at those times, Bitcoin mining would be competing with basic core societal needs like heating or cooling homes or the functioning of hospitals and nursing homes, end quote. Abbott's spokespeople didn't respond to multiple email and phone requests for comment. The governor's embrace of crypto mining goes back years. Gideon Powell, an oil wildcatter in Dallas, recalls pitching crypto to Abbott soon after he got into Bitcoin mining about 5 years ago. And at another meeting a few weeks after last year's storm, the governor quizzed him about how the industry could help stabilize the grid. Quote, he definitely seems to grasp it, end quote, Powell said. Quote, and it's such a weird concept. Hey, we're going to put more energy consumption into an energy system, and that's going to stabilize the grid, end quote. Texas's competitive power market is central to the miner's pitch. Nothing is more important to Bitcoin mining than electricity. It powers the computers that hum nonstop to solve complicated algorithmic equations. This work is the source of all the world's Bitcoins. Within 2 years, enough new Bitcoin mines will come online to require as much as 5 gigawatts of additional electricity in Texas, according to the Texas Blockchain Council. That's enough to light up Austin, a city of almost 1 million, twice over. There's a risk that projections may need to be adjusted. Mining is only profitable when Bitcoin trades above the cost of the power and the computers needed to create them, and prices are off almost 50% from a record high reached in November. An extended slump could delay the mining expansion. For now, and this is true because like we did talk about this, I think when we were talking about preparing for kind of the bear market, etc. And a lot of these companies that have basically taken out loans to pre-order a bunch of Bitcoin miners could find themselves in a position where they end up just going ahead and going under, canceling the loan, not getting any of those parts, and then calling it a day. This is a possibility depending on where we end up with the market. For now, the idea of putting further stress on the grid is anathema to Texans who live through the last year's storm, when frigid weather swept across the state, freezing up gas wells and forcing power plants offline. The blackouts left more than 200 people dead and paralyzed in the state for almost a week. Texans blamed Abbott's lax regulation of the electricity system, and lawmakers ordered hundreds of power plants to winterize. And I remember that. That's what we were referencing earlier when we were talking about it. Quote, everything that needed to be done to fix the power grid, everything was done. All right, end quote, Abbott said in June. The power grid operator also is optimistic Bitcoin miners can help the grid. A spokesperson for the Electricity Reliability Council of Texas, or ERCOT, said in a statement. But there are signs the risk of blackouts remains. 2 Arctic blasts in January shut down some gas production, exposing continued vulnerabilities for equipment that ensures the flow of fuel to electricity generators. Rivals are hounding Abbott over his handling of the power disaster. Quote, experts continue to warn that Texas could face another grid failure the next time we experience an extreme weather event, end quote, O'Rourke said. on his Twitter account in December after the governor promised the lights would stay on this winter. Quote, Abbott and his appointees shouldn't be betting our lives on the weather, end quote. Former State Senator Don Huffins, a GOP primary challenger, announced a plan this month to do more than Abbott to stimulate crypto, especially to strengthen the power grid. Quote, I am committed to making Texas the citadel for Bitcoin, end quote, Huffins said in a statement. At the October 13 meeting in Governor's Mansion, Abbott made it clear he's already all in on crypto mining. His blockchain working group is looking for more crypto-friendly laws and incentives to pursue, and the industry's expansion plans to have his support. When someone asked if Texas is Bitcoin country, the governor smiled and agreed. It's God's country. All right, so moral of the story, though, as a whole, is pretty much on the GOP side for Texas, whether you're talking about Huffins, who's running against him in the primary, or Abbott. Bitcoin looks to be healthy in Texas. Obviously, the Binance.us thing needs to be handled, in my humble opinion. But I guess you do have the risk of Beto O'Rourke, who doesn't seem to agree with it. So vote accordingly, depending on how you feel about that issue, and if it's your number one issue, or if there are other issues that you find more important. So that's really up to you as far as all that goes. But as far as the political influence of cryptocurrency, those are kind of your voting options in Texas. And if you're not in Texas and you want to participate in cryptocurrency, your safe zone appears to be Texas. So come on over. All right, let's go ahead and talk about a risk for basically privacy for your hardware wallets. Now, I have been using Trezor wallets for a while. It looks like I will not continue to utilize them. We'll kind of try to go over this. It's a little convoluted as far as the article is concerned, because what it means, what it says compared to what it means is a little confusing. But Trezor adopts Swiss travel rule protocol for private crypto wallets. And basically, this is an article from Yahoo Finance. An automated way of sharing proof that a user owns a private cryptocurrency wallet when transacting with a regulated exchange in Switzerland is being integrated by hardware wallet Trezor. Developer by crypto startup 21 Analytics, the Address Ownership Proof Protocol, AOPP, which also works with wallets like Bitbox and Edge, was designed to accommodate the Swiss financial market supervisory authorities' implementation of anti-money laundering (AML) requirements for cryptocurrency firms. Going beyond the recommendations made by global AML watchdog, the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, crypto requirements in Switzerland include the identification of private wallets transacting with the country's virtual asset service providers. The march of AML requirements into the realm of private or non-custodial wallets is something most countries are only at the initial stage of mulling over, often to the horror of crypto advocates. But Switzerland and Singapore are already requiring identification for transactions over $1,000 with what the FATF calls unhosted wallets. Switzerland has some extra harsh regulations when it comes to the travel rule, and NMA was always at the forefront, implementing everything the FATF publishes very quickly. 21 Analytics CEO Lucas Betschart said in an interview, quote, so we have the travel rule actually being enforced here, end quote. When it comes to determining ownership of private wallets, VASPs in Switzerland have been asking users to submit a screenshot of their wallet or conduct a Satoshi test whereby a specific amount of coins is sent to a verified wallet to confirm their receipt. Another way is manual signing in using a private key, Betschart said. AOOP streamlines and automates that manual signing process, he added. We're glad to see more individuals taking custody of their crypto assets, Marek Palatinas CEO of Satoshi Labs, the maker of the Trezor hardware wallet, said in a statement. AOPP makes it simpler and faster for users to withdraw the safest to the safest place for their coins and their Trezor. Best Chart also pointed out that 95% of transactions from Swiss VASPs don't go to another Swiss VASP, but rather to a top 20 crypto exchange such as Binance, BitMEX, or Bitfinex, most of which have no travel rule solution in place. The result is that customers of Swiss VASPs send and receive a lot of crypto via their own non-custodial wallets, often using AOPP, Best Chart said. Quote, it's an interesting effect of activating the travel rule in Switzerland that more people are forced to use their own wallet, end quote, Best Chart said. So it's not like everyone is sharing data, but just that everyone is sending to their own wallet before they can send assets to Binance, for example. I mean, it is like everybody's sharing data, because essentially what you are ending up having is you're going to end up having essentially an automated form, an automated signature that is going to basically tie your address, your Bitcoin address, to whoever you are. And so that's KYC, that's know your customer. It's borderline, right? That's pretty much what is going on here. That is what Trezor is supporting. I don't know as far as in the firmware and the software, what's going to change as far as all of that goes, but it's something to keep in mind that it kind of goes against the point of having a hardware wallet once that wallet is tied in to a certain extent, right? So for long-term holding, stuff like that, it seems like you just start moving further and further away from hardware wallets, things that are controlled or owned by centralized entities, to store crypto or custody. And your best bet is still, at the end of the day, probably just a paper wallet, right? Let's go ahead and talk about crypto mining profits. They are down for the day. It looks like I also had a rig down for a little while, so it is what it is. Right now we're at 5.87 gigahash. You can see down here we are down under 5 gigahash for a little bit. That's not good. It recovered by itself. I was sleeping. I was either working out or sleeping during that time. So I'll go check it all out. But we are down on estimated daily earnings to 0.0795 ETH. We were close to 0.09 on Wednesday, which is good. That's going to be $195 US, definitely making it more and more difficult to maintain and keep the mining farm running, at least at a perspective where I can continue to upgrade, because what we're talking about is that needing to cover costs, and we're getting into that range of like 50-50 cost to upgrade, and that makes it hard to upgrade when equipment is so expensive. So that's kind of where I'm at personally. If we go ahead and look at the market as a whole, let's take a look at the profitability for the 3090. And as you can see, we are down to $3.36 a day after power on Ethereum. We do want to go ahead and pull up the TON coin because that has been relevant in comparing to this. So 4.4 gigahash a second looks like $2.40 a day on TON right now. That is going to be better than Tent, which comes in second on What to Mine at $2.32 a day. Rio, pretty sure this is still a dead coin. Be careful. And by dead, I mean the developer's definitely taking some time off. There's only one developer, and I don't think there's really much progress going on there. It does have relevancy for privacy, though. So, I mean, at the same time, you can still just utilize the same protocols or whatever, use that coin for privacy, which is a fair point and possibly why it's at where it's at. We also have Ergo falling down below Conflux. Conflux is $1.83 a day after power. Ergo at $1.91 a day after power. And Zellhash at $1.76 a day after power, but I always have to calculate this out because it has that wrong. So Flux actually comes in third at $2.31 a day after power. When you actually plug in the 110 solutions a second, the 3090 in fact does obtain. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 2080 Ti, which historically has been most profitable on, of course, Flux, or the most common to be most profitable on Flux. And it looks like Flux has taken the lead, sort of, in revenue at $2.05 a day before power, whereas ETH is $1.99 a day before power. However, once you take into account the power consumption of Flux, unfortunately, it does fall behind Ethereum at $1.52 a day, and Ethereum's at $1.56 a day. But if you have some 2080 Ti's, you're really not that far off of being more profitable on Flux, and depending on your power cost, it may compensate for that, right? And if you have found a good spot and you're like myself with like 5.5 cents a kilowatt hour, you end up coming out basically even, right? $1.76, blah, blah, blah. There you go. Unfortunately, like we've talked about, the Polaris cards are still just not very good. We're going to go ahead and plug one in though for you guys. We'll do a single 580 here. Ethereum, 79 cents a day. And then basically the only other options is like Firo or Ravencoin. Ravencoin takes you all the way down to 24 cents a day and Firo down to 33 cents a day with the threat of an oncoming merge, etc. I did talk about this this week already, but I'm just going to go ahead and clarify. And it's a touchy subject. We also talked about it with Daniel Keller from Flux. I said, is there any plan to, you know, make AMD cards more efficient, specifically Polaris? Because if we're talking about the mass majority of hash rate on Ethereum from the GPU perspective, it is Polaris GPUs, RX 470s, 480s, 570s, and 580s. There's a ton of them out there. What does this mean for you as a miner? Those cheap 480s, 580s, whatever, they're probably not worth it. They're going to come down further and further and further and further. And if the merge takes place, they're going to hit the dirt as far as value. Probably one of the least valuable cards you could pick up right now, so just be very careful. Now, luckily on the AMD side, the RX 6000 series can be a placeholder. It does perform better on Flux than older cards. It does do very well on the open network, but the open network also is going to end in a couple hundred days here. So it seems like your best bet, from my perspective, is to buy NVIDIA GPUs, because your best bet post-merge is Flux, which favors NVIDIA GPUs. They have an NVIDIA partnership, and the proof of use will probably benefit greatly from NVIDIA, if we're being honest, right? Just be very careful on purchasing Polaris cards right now too. I wouldn't buy any personally. So I feel about it. Let's go ahead and take a look at the old hash rate charts and difficulty charts and see if we have any big changes going into place here. Nothing. Well, I guess we're kind of up, like back up. We're over 200 exahash on the Bitcoin network. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum here. Ethereum's actually up to 994 terahash a second for the week overall. That being said, I think it was right around that as well on, what was it, Monday or Wednesday? We missed Thursday yesterday. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ravencoin since the halving. I think it's pretty much settled in right at that. Okay. 4.8 terahash. We're going between 4.5 and 5 terahash a second. The difficulty dropped off, I think, when it hit its lowest, and people hopped on, and we kind of pumped up that difficulty. Probably gonna sit right around here for a while, I think, at this point. Let's take a look at Flux. No huge changes. Well, I don't know. I mean, it was at like 2.5 mega solutions a second. It's down to 2.35 mega solutions a second. Take a look at Ergo. I'm trying to get an interview. It won't be this weekend because I'm busy, but we were supposed to do it yesterday, and then we were supposed to do it possibly today. Unfortunately, it's not taking place, but I have an interview with the devs coming in for Ergo. This isn't good. We have invalid block heights popping. I guess these are all outdated. Never updated after that node update push after they had some network issues. I think we talked about that last week though. 16.9 terahash. We have pretty steady difficulty on Ergo as it sits. And I think that's pretty much it. There's like Conflux and Cortex. There's Conceal. There's a few other ones. I think we'll end it there. Let's look at mining pool profits for the week. Crazy Pool in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, Flex Pool in third for the last 90 days. For the last 60 days, we have Crazy Pool in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, and Flex Pool in third. For the last 30 days, Crazy Pool in first again, Mining Pool Hub in second, and Flex Pool in third. Last 21 days, Crazy Pool in first, 2 miners in second, and Mining Pool Hub in third. Last 14 days, we have Crazy Pool in first, Ethermine in second, and 2 miners in third. Last 7 days, we have Crazy Pool in first, Ethermine in second, and Flex Pool in third. Last 3 days, ZET hops to the top with Ethermine in second and Flex Pool in third. Crazy Pool down all the way into last place for the last 3 days. I don't know what happened there, if they had a net or if they had a pool issue or something is what I would assume happened. Last day, Crazy Pool in first, Mining Pool Hub in second, and Ethermine in third, as far as that goes. So there you go. I may have to try Crazy Pool out again. They've been consistently on the top. I just need to see, hopefully, if they've lightened up on, they said they have, so they lightened up on some of their banning stuff. So hopefully from a hotspot won't trip too many things or anything like that. Let's look at ASIC miners. Gold Shell KD6 in first still. Pretty expected. The Inosilicon A11 in second, just as always. There you go. We got Gold Shell KD5 in third. So pretty much Cadena on top. As usual, Antminer L7, which I heard one was on eBay for $27,000. I still haven't seen one really in the wild, but I also don't know that I would put all my coins in that bucket. KD2 still sitting in here. The WhatsMiner D1, the Inosilicon A10 is still up there. Antminer D7 still in the same place. And then if we're looking at profitability on Bitcoin miners and SHA-256, we're looking at what? We're looking at Antminer S19 Pros at like 15 bucks a day. So they're down pretty hard from the 40 bucks a day or 38 bucks a day that they were making just a little under a month ago. So there you go. You got your S19s, your S19Js. Boom, boom, bang. Let's go ahead and see if there's any deals on BT miners, who were the sponsor of the channel today. You have the S19 Pros at 11,000. That's 110 terahash a second. I think that's going to be, what are those? I don't see the Pro. They have the J Pro. There it is right here, 110. So that's 15 bucks a day. I think 11,000 is still going to be a stretch. I'm still waiting for some of these ASICs to really reflect the market, right? Because that's still like a 733-day payoff. That's a little rough. You got the sales on the WhatsMiners, the M21S's. That was up. Where was that one? Those are 327 a day. So that one's a much better ROI. Wait, is that right? No, that's a much worse ROI. Yeah, it's a much worse ROI. Sorry, my bad. Derp. Yeah, that's like 1,000 days, right? Yeah. There's a T19 for 8,500. Any good packages? They say they have the L7 here. I don't know if I believe they exist. KD box is 7,300. KD6 is still like, it's down from like the 60,000 to 48,000, but still Jeez. Like, what are those making today again? 108 or something? It's better ROI than most things on here, though. You have the Antminer D7 for Dash at 14.4. I don't know which one I would pull the trigger on, really, necessarily. Other than just... Yeah, I think pricing just needs to come down, guys. But please use the affiliate link if you decide to purchase an ASICs today. All right, we're going to sit down and answer questions and answers. Do questions and answers for the end of the show like we normally do. The show went over today, but we had a lot of topics and very long topics. Basically, if you can go ahead and hit me up with questions by doing @SonOfATech or the super chats. Now, I did miss some super chats earlier. I'll try to go back to them. Oh. Let's see, I scrolled up. I didn't catch the super chats. Let me see if I can catch them in my panel. Manage? No. That wasn't what I was trying to do. The analytics aren't popping up either. I guess it's been a little long for that, guys, so I apologize. Oh, if you guys can purchase t-shirts down below, keep calm, mine on are still available. I will do a black shirt with a white logo when I get some time. I'll be a little bit busy here, though, so give me about a week or so to get the black shirts up. And let's get going on in here. Get some questions. Pay Me in Crypto says, ask SonOfATech anything to say about miner pool being 60 to 70% of the hash rate on Flux. It's not a distribution problem because you got to remember that they also have nodes. Could it potentially be an attack vector? I've been told no. I've been told no on a lot of those things previously. So I think it's 51% of the hash rate though right now, right? And I will say this, and here's the problem. That's what I did my how-to on, and that's what I did my solo mining video on, and that's what I was using, and I wasn't utilizing it because it was the #1 or anything like that. Because I don't even think when we started, I have to go look at the deals again, but unfortunately a problem with the channel right now is apparently we sway hash rate a lot from pool to pool, so I'm trying to be very careful about this. Once again, please, and if miner pool is the best latency you got, then that's what you use, but please try to test all the pools for the best latency and move yourself accordingly. And then that should, in and of itself, resolve a lot of this, in my humble opinion. Detroit Irish says, @SonOfATech, what kind of ROI would be good realistic bar for buying Bitcoin ASICs? Yeah, that one's actually a good question because I'm not really sure at this point, right? I mean, part of the problem is what you're talking about is a shifting market. In theory, like, it's going to pay itself off. You would want to pay it. I mean, if I'm being honest, like I want it to at least pay itself off before we have those new Intel miners hit the market, right? So I think that's 2025. Is that right? Somewhere around there. So for Bitcoin, you probably push it a little further out, but I'd want to keep it under 2 years if I could. I'm worried about the technology improvements that are coming to Bitcoin mining in particular. Box fan says, that son of a tech, did you know you were awesome? Oh, thanks, dude. I'm trying, but it's only because I get to learn from y'all too. Mano Miner says, that son of a tech, did you? No, I have not tested the 3050 yet. I do not know anything yet. It's sitting right there. I'm going to be testing it when we're done with the show. I'm going to try to get the testing done and the video out tonight. I'm going to try my best. Andreas11G says, that son of a tech, have you tried mining Nimiq coin? No, I have not. Not in a long time, at least. It's been around for a long time, though. Hash and Dash says, at son of a tech, what do you think about FutureBit Apollo BTC? Only 2 to 3.8 terahash, but power is great at 200 watts. I don't know. I don't know how you would make anything off of that. Seems rough. But the power efficiency seems good. Trading nickels. Oh, that wasn't really tagging me. Crypto Raz says, that son of a tech, $28 for a t-shirt. You'll give me $3 for it. You know, you don't have to purchase it. It is what it is. Inflation. Jeff Rodriguez says, that son of a tech, you got me hooked on GamerSops. Just ordered the caffeine free. Tastes like the normal caffeine one. Make a not your keys, not your crypto shirt. All right. I can work on that. I think I would have to figure out how I'd want to do that design, but that could be fun. Toby said, that son of a tech, what do you think how much ASICs are on ETH network right now? More than 30%? I don't really even know where to begin looking at that. I'm going to be honest. I don't even know where to begin to figure that out. I think a majority of it's GPUs, though. It's not like Hut 8 was buying a bunch of ET hash ASICs. So, it is what it is. Clyde Tech says, how are you doing? What do you think about NiceHash dumping massive hash rate onto the Ergo blockchain? I didn't see that. Was that in the chart today? I didn't see that on the chart. Can you help me here? Is that just this right here? Because it doesn't seem like too abnormal. What, yesterday it was at 17 terahash yeah, it hasn't like skyrocketed, and I don't see the spikes. If it is happening, I guess there's this F2 pool that just got added in on what day? The 24th? I'm not seeing it. If it was a thing, my only worry would be if it was happening to influence the vote on EIP 27. Interesting says, at Son of a Tech, what miner would you say is best to start out Bitcoin mining with a budget on 4,000? I would... I mean, like, there's literally just one option, right? Like, that's the problem with ASICs is like, there's one option, bro. Like, your price point is like directly related to that. So the only thing you can buy to mine Bitcoin at like 4,000 is going to be like the WhatsMiner M21S. There's really not much you can do there. Nathan says, Son of a Tech, how much does latency matter? You have a 3080 Ti when you mine ETH via 2 miners on a pool in China. It appears that I get more shares at even 200 milliseconds. So that would probably be directly related not to your latency, because what you would be looking at is your stale shares for that. But your shares are going to be relative to the amount of hash power on the pool. So all you're really concerned about is the percentage of stale shares when we're talking about latency. Scott Schultz says, at Son of a Tech, you all ready to secede now or what? Yeah, this is, well, it's getting weird. So, because obviously, like, the Texas secede thing's always been, like, a thing. And, like, I get it. Like, it's more of just, like, a state pride thing more than anything else. Always has been. But be very careful with that right now. Because what's happening right now on the grander political stage that we don't have control of necessarily is these controlling government bodies are going to make that decision for us. I worry that you just need to be in the right place at the right time under the right... I don't know. For sake of like not saying the wrong thing, that possibility actually does kind of more just scare me more than anything else. David Packer says, at Son of a Tech, how do you lower power costs? You're paying 33 cents a kilowatt hour. You call power companies around your area until you find wherever the next place you can feasibly move to. And you need to go commercial and get commercial rates and file an LLC and do all of that. Pay me in crypto. Thank you for the 99 cents. Richard Borgia says, at Son of a Tech, do you know if swapping Bitcoin for Flux is possible on Zelcore? The Flux amount always shows 0 in the InstaSwap when you enter your BTC amount. Yeah, I don't think that that swap's working. I know like the Litecoin swap's working, but I haven't seen the Bitcoin ever show a direct exchange between Flux. Probably need to use a traditional exchange for it for that particular trade. Let's see. Game Walkthrough says that Trezor will remove AOPP from Sign and Verify and provide a guide to manually verify addresses, and that's on the manual site. Thanks for that call out. I'll definitely check it out. That's good news. Thank you. Clyde Tech says, at Son of a Tech, I've been seeing massive inflows of hash rate increases on 2 miner pools happening every day, coinciding with drops on ETH and Flux. Massive inflows of hash rate increases on 2 miner pools happening every day, coinciding with drops on ETH and Flux. You mean when you're just talking about like when people go and rent the hash rate? There is like so there's a couple things going on too. There are bots that are basically, from what I can tell, are renting hash rate and deploying it on networks at given times to maximize their payout. I haven't really figured out how they work exactly yet, but it's been on my radar for a couple weeks now. Someone in the comments the other day said you didn't like the 3070 and you told them I know you hadn't liked the 3070 Ti. I agree, it's not an efficient card. Thoughts on the 3070? The 3070 is great, especially specifically the non-light hash rate models. But I would even buy a 3070 light hash rate over a 3070 Ti. And that's primarily due to the fact that the 3070 Ti really boosted up that power draw. And you're talking about near 3080. Actually, you're talking about 3080 power draw on a weaker card. It's not smart for mining. But 3070s are good. I have a lot of them. Stick Shark says, at Son of a Tech, have you tried 901 core for your RX 6600s? It worked for about 15 years. So anytime we're talking overclocking, I will try knocking down the core over and over and over again until the card fails. On those in particular, most of them stick around 950. But your mileage will vary. That's going to be the same across the board. So anytime like you're looking at particular cards, reviews for cards, hash rates for cards, overclocks for cards, hey man, like there's tons of good cryptocurrency mining content out there. Don't just take mine and go with that. You can go check out whoever else's, obviously Red Fox, Red Panda. I guess Red's going to be in the name for everything but my channel for mining. Jokes aside, you got Hobbyist Miner, you got, there's a ton of them. Bits Be Trippin', so on, you know. And a lot of what we've done on this channel is like, I still have like the card reviews and so on, but the format, the channel is evolving, and the channel is evolving for longer format, conversational type stuff, so that we can cover more cryptocurrency than we could cover in the past. And that's kind of my goal with the Crypto Mining Morning Show, along with the clips and so on, because there's so much to cover, and it's kind of a niche that like isn't like, we're able to cover a lot more ground the way that we're structuring the channel right now. And the more ground that we can cover, more ground I can cover and share with y'all, the more ground you can cover in a quicker, and then help us all learn, right? So, while like individual like card reviews will still happen and that sort of thing, I don't know that we'll be doing like straight overclocking videos or anything necessarily. It really depends. Like if there's a new card that like we find something new out, right? A different miner works better or something, that'll all be covered still. But for the most part, like this is like why we're starting to restructure here a little bit. That's because I'm trying to provide as much value as possible as a solo content creator as well. Wellco says, have you checked out Babycoin CPU mining? Trades at a penny on your Ryzen 9. It's bringing in over 350 coins a day. I have not checked it out. Babycoin seems funny, but I will go ahead and add that to my list. I'm copying it out now. Thanks for the tip. But this is why we do these, yeah, because I need you all's help to keep track of everything too, because it's and then we're going to share it with the community. That's how this goes, right? It's just a little difficult to keep going. All right. Or keep up with it all, really. Yeah, Clyde Tech says it's like 1.5 terahash a day being moved in and out in short bursts. Yeah, so if you can snag the right block, right? So a lot of like what arbitrage is doing is like, I think that there is some, because you can write like your own arbitrage bot for ETH, right? Like in Solidity, which is what I've been playing with, just at a base level, kind of trying to learn. I already messed up a couple times, so I'm not there yet. I haven't figured it out. But my understanding is that you could, in theory, implement other call outs. And like a lot of what they're looking for in like an arbitrage bot could potentially be used to look for in renting hash power. It's not going to work every time, but it seems like whatever they're doing has figured out how to make it work reasonably well, to where that's why you're seeing that 1.5 terahash being moved in and out in bursts. My assumption is it's coming in for a highly arbitraged block that's going to have high fees and then bouncing back out. It's more than likely tied into all the MEV stuff and all, like, you got to understand that ETH is heavily manipulated. Everything about Ethereum is heavily manipulated. All of the pricing, all of the trading, ordering of the transactions, it is straight up manipulated. Right now, there is an arbitrage bot out there that you can essentially, that I've seen it work, and of course they're always getting updated and some of them fall out and don't work anymore, whatever, but I have seen some in the wild that will produce 6 ETH a day, or sorry, 6 ETH a week with a 1 ETH investment, right? Like, and that's purely off of just reordering transactions and front running shit. It's heavily manipulated. Nastay, thanks for the $5 and for reminding people to hit that like button. Babylonian, thanks for the $5. He asks, what is the importance of changing pools, of not changing pools? Okay, so most pools, unless they're prop, okay, which stands for basically proportional, but most pools aren't. Most pools are PPLNS or some version of that. Calculate time on the network for your shares. And the reasoning for this is to stop people from pool hopping, because what happened early on, especially when everything was prop, is that you would time a block, and if you had a ton of hash power, you may see like a pool is starting to solve a block, and you would hop over to solve that block, and then you would hop back and you would basically add in and basically take a bunch of shares away because you have more hash power than the pool has, right? And you would steal a majority of the reward, and you didn't have to stay there for the entire time. So PPLNS was put into place to basically stop that from happening. So that the pool payouts are more fair to people that are committed to the pool and staying on there and so on. And it's better for miners too, because it was really annoying to be like in 2016, be a miner on a prop pool and just have, you know, like with one rig, and have like some dude come in with a farm, steal the block, and then hop back to another pool. When is the time to shift for solo mining? I don't really understand what you would be trying to do there. You would never shift to solo mining except for like luck, or if you have more hash power, or if you can solve blocks on your own. And that's going to be proportional to whatever network you're on. Andre Mora asks, what is the best pool in your opinion? Whichever pool has the lower latency. I haven't mined Cero. I'm cautious about it, Wuchin. Paul says, at Son of a Tech, there's an article called Bitcoin's energy usage isn't a problem. Here's why, about mining farms being okay, or being told to turn off their power because the rates just have to make it worth it. Okay. I'll have to read that one. If you want to tweet it at me, dude. Detroit Irish says, at Son of a Tech, don't CA your Texas and don't New York your Florida. You think everybody's going from California, Texas, and New York to Florida? Florida's going to have to start competing for that Bitcoin money, huh? CBL said, hey, son of a tech, I have 8 GPU, 4 gigabyte rig. What do you suggest? Is Ergo better than ETC to mine right now? Just run what to mine and for your particular cards and start to figure it out. I think Ergo would be better than Ethereum Classic, but I haven't necessarily run that on like your GPUs or anything. Clyde Tech says, ask Son of a Tech, is it possible that NiceHash are stealing hash rate through their app? For instance, someone is renting out 100 mega hash through NiceHash, but NiceHash is using 1 mega hash to another coin. I mean, no, I don't think so. David Packer says, at Son of a Tech, you do have an LLC, you live in California. Would I call PG&E and tell them to switch my account to a commercial rate because my majority of power usage is being drawn by your company? They won't do that in a residential sanction. Like, you would have to move your farm. Like, you would have to move your farm to commercial property more than likely. This isn't financial advice or business advice. I'm not positive on that. Please talk with a business advisor or something along those lines. I also have no familiarity with the California market. And I don't think I ever will because I can't afford their taxes or their power costs. Texas Ace says, ask Son of a Tech, I know you farm on your farm are 5700s. Mine says 56 in the miner, but only 52 to 53 hash at the pool, it seems. Is that normal? What are your overclock settings? Yeah, that's normal, and I have an entire video covering how to strap and do all of that on the 5700s. I think it's called like the ultimate guide for the RX 5700 or something like that. Andre says, do you think the announcement that Putin supports for crypto mining is good for the market of crypto? That one's interesting because, like, obviously there was the FUD of them saying that, you know, the whole ban thing that was going on. To me, it seems like it's market manipulation. And it's market manipulation right before the United States tax season. It might be intentional to play with that right now, especially if you look at, like, I think it's fair to say that the United States seems to be the most bullish on cryptocurrency as far as like the amount of industry it's created recently. It has the most hash power now that China's been out of the game. If you were maybe just like, I don't know, if you're playing a game of Civilization and you realize that there's a common or a commodity that's making a whole bunch of money for another country, and you see that industry getting spun up there and you want to control or manipulate it, and you can do that by making a global statement that you're banning it to hopefully try to bring it down and then try to manipulate it or buy in. I mean, it seems like it seems like a scenario that would play out in like Civilization to me. But I don't understand world leaders. I don't understand like governments and all of that, and like what even possesses somebody to want to run those jobs and do that sort of thing. It's not really my wheelhouse. Raheem says, at Son of a Tech, pool of choice when solo mining ETH. Basically the pool that has the lowest latency. Boxfan says, channel is evolving as Son of a Tech doesn't dress up anymore for streams and he gets more views when he looks scruffy. Hey, dude, I got knocked hard over here. I don't think it's bruised all the way. It's just risen. I'm just busy. Scott Schultz says, at Son of a Tech, I like the direction you're taking with the Flux. That interview and stuff would be cool if you could get some more of your local politicians on to get them more involved directly with us all. That would be really cool. I don't know how to leverage that, right? But maybe somebody can help me. I definitely need help with like, so I guess a call to the community. If anybody wants to email me at inquiry@sonofatech, it should be on the About tab. Ad sales, because like I know Linus like released like their information on where they get their revenue from. A lot of it's from like in-channel ads. I know that we have the numbers to pull good advertisers. I'm willing to like work out a deal where you get a percentage of the sales, and probably a pretty big percentage if you can fill up all the videos. I just like, I don't have time. It's already, I'm looking for ad sales, and I'm looking for some sort of coordinators to help me get people on. Cause I'm not real good at that either. Usually like I'm the kind of guy that will just be like, if somebody messages me, I'll be, oh, okay, cool, let's do it. Every email that I've sent out, I've gotten no replies from, even to like some of the miners that like Voscoin has like put on his channel, as far as like, because I was like, well, let's get some ASICs for like review. I can't seem to get any ASICs for review at all. So like stuff like that. Even just like, I don't know. It's weird. I need help. I need help with the industry communication, I suppose. Is that what it would be called? Rent-free says, "Ask Son of a Tech, do you know much about white label exchange software? You tweeted about HolaX. How can you build your own exchange?" No, I do not. Sorry. And that sounds extremely time-consuming to learn right now. For me, to be honest, it'd be something I'd have to get obsessed with. Detroit Iris says, "Ask Son of a Tech, watched the mining pool server vid the other day. Please don't shave and burn that purple shirt." I don't remember. That would have been an old one. That would have been like when I was still working in IT. Dude, I don't have any slacks. And I should have kept them, but like when I quit my job, I threw all the slacks and all the button-up shirts out. I only have pearl snap shirts and a nice pair of jeans for the dressier occasions. Hash and Dash says, "At Son of a Tech, have you considered doing series interviews with different pool ops? Might help spread hash rate a bit and showcase different pools." I mean, that would be an interesting case. I know a lot of pool ops don't like to be at the forefront of communication with people. There's some risk there for them, and I don't know who would really want to do that necessarily. Or that I would necessarily encourage it either, especially for the bigger pools that we would want to have on, like maybe something from like Ethermine or something, or Flexpool. I think Chris from Flexpool would maybe come on, possibly. Alexander asks what my favorite color is. Black. And I know it's a shade. David Packer says, "Ask Son of a Tech, thank you. I'll check into that. You believe the property your home is on is a mixed-use property?" Yeah, it's worth a shot. Give him a call. Do it. Let's see. Talon79 says, "Will that manipulation in ETH stick around as proof of stake? If so, gas will never go down." Yes, I mean, you're going to be able to still arbitrage and front run on Ethereum when it goes proof of stake. I don't think that solves any of that, right? You're still talking about the same lists and the same functionality. I mean, they've basically even said that it's going to be the same, right? Like the execution layer is exactly the same still. Pay Me in Crypto says, "Have I read the Book of Satoshi?" I have not, but I will actually try to add that to my list. Adam says, "At Son of a Tech, check out Veil CPU mining." I think we've already covered that one. Says it's doing $2 a day on 3900X. I don't think it was doing that much when we covered it though, and it was quite a while ago. Michael C says, that Son of a Tech found your show a few months ago and it's been amazing to you. Do you need assistance researcher for testing, content research? I need people reaching out and getting me. I do want more interviews. I'm close enough to Austin that I do want to basically build. I don't want it at my house, right? Like we're at right now. And I don't know how I'm going to fund it quite yet, but I do want to find like one of those, maybe like one of those like, co-work spaces where you can rent like just an office space and set up a podcast in there. I'd like to do in-person podcasts with people within cryptocurrency industry, and I'd like to pull it away from video chat, because I feel like we could get a lot better content if it was person on person, right? Like if it was David Keller and myself actually together in a room, I think we could get better content out of it. Not that it's bad content, and I'll continue to do those as far as the video chats go for the time being, but that would be my ultimate goal. 5700 XTs for 625. Buy it or wait for AMD to drop. Amigos, I wouldn't buy them. So we talked about that earlier. The 5000 series is in the same boat as Polaris. I mean, it kind of sucks that I'm heavily leveraged in them. I'd rather be more leveraged in NVIDIA GPUs right now. Hero says, Ask Son of a Tech, I have a year-long question. Is it good to solo mine in a bear market when net hash is low? We have more luck as less competition, right? Well, I mean, I don't see less competition coming down the line. Unfortunately, you got like Hut 8 and Hive that are going to keep that difficulty high. On solo coins, though, or smaller coins, sure. But solo mining is going to be a risk no matter what. Like, it's like this rig back here is solo mining just for like shits and giggles to see if it hits something, and then I can make one of those videos that goes viral. I mined a solo ETH block. Like, that's literally the only reason it's doing it, just so I can get people to click and then start getting curious, right? Like, I don't know. And then maybe I get some bonus out of it, right? Some extra ETH. Pioneer Smokehouse says, Ask Son of a Tech, here in Oregon, your PUD would not let you switch, but plus side, you have taxes in your kilowatt rate at 7 cents a kilowatt hour. Interesting. Taxes in your kilowatt rate. I guess that's yeah, huh. Adam says, Ask Son of a Tech, have you checked out? Already talked about that. Ron B says, Ask Son of a Tech, are you still buying new cards from places like Micro Center? I just bought a 3050 yesterday. Crazy Pool says, Ask Son of a Tech, hi, our band systems are working properly and better than ever, and invites us to try Crazy Pool again. Yep. Cool. Lost the spar with the comb. No, I just don't. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Physical appearance doesn't matter, man. What can you do? It matters for yourself and how you feel. I guess really physical appearance is just a manifestation of however you are feeling, right? Or in a lot of cases, as far as if we're talking like overweight or average or whatever. What would be a good gaming motherboard for an 8 to 12 card rig? Would be a gaming media and mining rig. I wouldn't do it. It's not going to function properly. Because for you to get 8 to 12 cards on the rig, you're going to reduce the speed of the GPU to less PCIe lanes, which means that your production stuff is going to be trash. Like, it's not going to be fun. Take one card, build a gaming rig, and then take the 7 to 11 cards and make a mining rig. Nicholas Kane says, "Ask Son of a Tech, have you seen Daniel Lesta on Twitter? Token holders of WMemo, which is wrapped memo, okay, and Memo and Time on Wonderland seem to have lost all their investment from a bad treasury, from what you've read." Yeah, I heard about it. I wasn't ever invested in those, nor did they look legit from the get-go to me, so I wasn't. It's like one of those things that you read and you're like, I kind of expected that, and you keep scrolling. Does that make sense? It'd be like if like Safe Moon or Hex gets dumped and like people start freaking out. I'd be like, okay, I expected it. And then just keep scrolling. I don't find it newsworthy when it's like, You know what I mean? Amigo says, hire a virtual assistant. I probably should. James PT says, you got enough for a Flux node yet? No, I do not. You reference me what to mine on 5600 XT? Ethereum. Crypto Raz says, "Ask Son of a Tech, do you think mining ETH and getting payouts in Nano on 2 miners is worth it for small miners?" It can be. It's really up to you. Polygon's proven to not be really low fees anymore, unfortunately. So, what are you going to do? That's going to wrap it up for me today, guys. We went 25 minutes over, actually a little bit more than that. I want to thank you all for your support. I hope I answered as many questions as I possibly could. Be sure to hit the like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, share the channel out. I am working on securing the camera. I'm going to do that this week, because I know it's bothering some people, and it bothers me. That's it. That's it. That's a wrap. I got to test this 3050. Look for it tonight or tomorrow. I'll see you next Tuesday.